So I am mixing up paints for a 36 by 36 inch pour today, and I mix up usually my own colors. I've done the white, I've done turquoise, now I'm doing a navy color, and it's quite a lengthy process, but I thought, you know, I'll just show parts of it so you kind of get a clue of the enormous task of mixing paint. Like I said, this is for a 36 by 36, but I'm going to have some white negative space, so I don't need enough to pour over the whole canvas, but I need a good amount of paint. I want to have more than I need. I'm using Owatrol Easy Flow. I've got the camera kind of on a side angle right now, so I'm not sure which way my words are going on my bottles, but I will have the camera set up for when I start pouring the right way. For this navy, I have used Brilliant Blue, Phthalo Cyanine Blue, some Dioxazine Purple, Black, and Phthalo Green. So if anything, it's going to be a blue-green kind of navy blue. And we shall see if I need to make it go any deeper. First, I'm just trying to get the consistency I want, then I can tweak it with a little bit more color if I need to. Sometimes the mixing takes way longer than the pouring, but I have a feeling this one's going to take a little while today, considering it's 3 feet square. It's a commission. I'm going to attempt to do one similar to one that I had done, I think it was in February. It was maybe a 18 by 24 canvas at the most. It was a white background with a wave on it that had copper in it, and so this one is twice as big as the one that I did before. I even wrote down the order in which I poured my paint in my cup, which still does not guarantee anything when it comes to pouring a painting, because every painting is always going to be uniquely different. No two people can pour one alike. They might get them to look similar if you were standing side by side and doing it at the same time, but there are going to be no two paintings that are alike. And that's one of the reasons why I am willing to share my recipes and the way I do my process, because there's not going to be another painting that looks just like my painting. And what are the odds of that person being anywhere remotely close to me in the geography of where I live? So that is why I freely give information on my YouTube videos at this point, because I'm not worried about somebody stealing my method. Now, I don't want you marketing your pictures that are my pictures and selling my pictures as prints or something like that, but you're welcome to try to pour or do a painting like I do all day long. You're more than welcome. So I've got this piece of paper here that has a white background, and I'm just trying out the color to make sure that it's good. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit more purple, and I mean just a little bit, and a little bit more black. I really mixed up too much paint, But what had happened is I put my paint in my cup first, and then you're supposed to do, not supposed to, I use a 1-to-1 ratio of paint to Owatrol. And so with that ratio, I had to fill my cup pretty much full to the top with the Owatrol. Then you have to add water because they're tube paints, which are thicker. And to get that perfect consistency, you have to add water to tube paints after you've added your, I always put my Owatrol or pouring medium in with my color first, mix them together and let them bond, and I add my water last. See if that's any different. It didn't phase it too much, but I don't think I'm gonna go any deeper. So that's my blue. I want a little bit of the phthalo green. And I think I'm gonna add some turquoise in with that, which this tube is brand new. So this is more of a green turquoise. I like that. So I have these Jacquard Pearl X powders. It's pigmented powder that's metallic or pearly, or however you want to describe it. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to sprinkle some in here, and I have no idea how much to put in. I don't know if that's going to add any shimmer or not. I'm going to add some more. I'll add some more from this one. This is more of a vivid blue. Now I know you can add these to a clear medium. I'm not sure how they do mixed with paint, colored paint. You know, like if it will totally camouflage it or not, I have no idea. So this will be an experiment. This one's more of a purpley blue. I'm not going to use that. So then I need to do my 1-to-1 ratio. Trying to decide if I see any sparkle or not. Just a little bit more. This is a jug that I had that was almost empty, and I added water to it because I know I'm going to need my water and my tube paint because it's thick. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it in. And the reason I'm not using any squirt bottles today. I don't want small cells, I want large cells. So when you want large cells, you got to put it in cups and barely stir that in when you put your, I'm using the OGX coconut milk today. That was the watery Owatrol. Put just a little bit more blue in here. Put a little bit more water in my container. Still just a little bit thick. I want my paints pretty fluid today because I'm doing such a large canvas. I don't want to put them on the canvas and then them just kind of sit there. I need them to flow around freely. So I like them thicker for my squeeze bottles, but I like them a little bit thinner if I'm trying to get large cells and flow on my canvas. That's pretty good right there. Now, so I can throw this one away, it's totally empty. I want a bronze color. And this looks like some that I had from before, and it probably already has silicone in it. I was seeing if it smelled good, because sometimes you can tell if you had the coconut milk, because the coconut milk smells so good. So that's bronze. This is also a bronze color. It's a different brand, but it's a little bit more coppery. I'm going to put a little bit of that in there. That's Lumiere by Jacquard. This is light-bodied metallic paints. It's made for fabric and all kinds of stuff, but it's really, the metallic vibrance is really awesome. This is also bronze by Artist Loft. And I'm going to stick a little of that in there. So I'm going to do about a 1-to-1 ratio on that with the Owatrol. My red bottle is my water. I have a red squirt bottle, but it's all water. I keep H2O written on it to remind myself. But I don't want people to think I'm pouring something red into my colors because it is water. So my other color that's going to be a pretty good amount of, this is the Copper by Lumiere by Jacquard, which is very, very coppery. So what I'm going to do, this is a brand new bottle here. Let's see if the other one's open. This one's opened. These metallics are just so gorgeous. I'm going to use all of this bottle. This is Liquitex Basics bronze, but this is like more coppery than the other bronze, the other brands that have the bronze. And I'm going to add this, which is a little softer, into my copper here, just to tone it down just a little bit. I don't think I'm going to use this other bottle. I'm going to put it to the side. Add a little bit more of this bronze color to soften it a little more. I always put the colors and everything below my videos, but like this one's going to be tough because I'm mixing my colors up as I go, and there's probably no way, if you wanted to try this exact pour, there's probably no way you could get the exact same colors. You would just have to mix what is pleasing to your eye as far as trying to get the same color tones. I don't know about y'all, but this stirring wears my hands out. I know this is going to look weird when I play it back because I'm standing kind of to the side. But I had to take my camera off the table, which I usually have on one end of my table because I need the whole surface of the table to put my canvas on. And then when I record painting the canvas, I've got to put me another table beside my table to hold the camera. So I'm waiting to do that until I get all my paints mixed. I paint out of my eat-in kitchen. I don't have a studio, so I have to work with what I have available. I am looking and praying for a studio space to come available that is right for me. I don't want to rush it. I want it to be just right. The original wave pour that I did in February, that I'm trying to kind of just resemble it a little bit, I put orange in it, and I'm definitely not putting orange in this one. I don't want any orange popping through. The next color I need is a tan color. So I'm going to start with the unbleached titanium. Throw in a little bit, that's Artist Loft. I'm going to throw in some Liquitex unbleached titanium. So just two different brands. One's a little paler than the other. So I try to get my color right first. Then I add my Owatrol 1-to-1. And I stir it into my paint. Then I add the water. And then at the very, very end, I'll add my coconut milk hair serum to all my colors except for white. Always make sure too to scrape around the sides of your cup when you're mixing your colors to get the paint and the Owatrol and everything that sticks to the sides. So again, this is unbleached titanium. The last one I'm going to do, this is Deco Art White Pearl Dazzling Metallics. Put a squirt of that in. This is the Lumiere light bodied acrylic called Pearl Turquoise, and there's hardly any left in here. There it is. There's some dry paint on the edge of the bottle, so I'm trying to get the paint out without getting those lumps in there. Excuse me. I've had these bottles for a while, so some of that has got some crusty paint in it, so I'm not going to use that on the stick. This is a little bit of shimmering aqua handmade modern from Target, which I don't care for their paints because they're a little bit too transparent, but this has a little pearlescence to it and it's light, so I'm going to add it and get rid of this bottle. It did look pretty in a pour that I did where I used it. It came out like an icy blue looking color. It was really pretty. But like I did the neons, and the neons were very transparent. They weren't very strong. I was not impressed. So I got a little bit of the pearl, a little bit of the jacquard turquoise metallic color that's in Pearl Turquoise. This is Interference Green by Pearl X and by Jacquard. It's a pigment powder. So I put a good amount of that into that. We'll see what happens. So I guess I'll use some more of the white pearl by Deco Art. Maybe just a little bit of the Artist Loft Aqua Green. New tube. So it's very pretty. It's kind of a shimmery, really pale pearl aqua. Found a pair of pink gloves that hopefully will fit my hands a little tighter. So I have white in the big container here. I have a big jug of white. I have a pouring bottle of white, squeeze bottle. So none of the white has silicone. These don't have silicone yet, but I'm going to add OGX coconut milk to it before I paint. But I'm going to let these sit for a minute, and I'm going to get another table set up so I can get this all worked out. I'll be back. Okay, so the only way I could set my camera up is this way. So you're going to be kind of from the side angle, and I'm sorry about that, but that's kind of the way my table is set up and the space that I have to put the other table. So I hope it won't be too much of a bother for you. I'm taping so I know where my canvas goes to make sure it's in the frame, because I can't see the camera. It's up so high and at an angle where I can't see it. So I've got my 36-inch canvas. I got my assorted tools, my pull trowel, my 3 scrapers, my store card, my butter knife, straw, skewer. So all my tools that I need. I got my hair pulled back, so hopefully no hair will drop in. I got my shirt tied so it doesn't drop into my paint. This is the largest acrylic pour I've ever done, and I did find some pink gloves that I hope are a little bit smaller. A little bit. Those other vinyl ones are bigger, even though I have large hands. They say small on the box, but they're not small. So that's my next purchase, is some tighter gloves. So I'll move this just for a minute, and I'm going to show you too. This is a really heavy duty gallery wrapped canvas. It's super duper heavy duty framed. It's got the crossbars, so I'm not worried about weight, because this is not going to be where you pour the canvas with a ton of paint and it sits on it and it's all settled in the middle. It's going to be kind of spread out because it's going to be an ocean wave looking thing. But it's not going to be an ocean wave looking thing. I'm just giving you a heads up. It's abstract. And I've got copper in it and bronze. So I don't want it to, I'm not trying to make it look like a real ocean wave. I want it just to resemble it, kind of. This canvas is heavy. So I've got turquoise, deep turquoise, a pale, pearly, kind of teal, but pale. But it's metallic-y. Copper. This is unbleached titanium. This is a mixture of several bronzes. And this is my mixture I made up of navy. So really none of these are like straight out one color except for the unbleached titanium. Everything else I mixed my own colors. So if you want to attempt to do this, you're going to have to mix your own colors too. This is my water bottle. Here's my OGX coconut milk hair serum. And then I've got lots and lots of white over here, but I'm not going to put it on the table. I'm going to do one big dirty pour, and then if I have smaller cups if I need to do any more. So I'm going to do one final go around just to make sure, and this is the order that I want to pour my colors that I used previously. So I'm just checking the consistency. These two are the same color. I just had too much, so I put them in two different cups. So sometimes when they sit for a little while, they thicken up, and you've got to add water back to them to make them nice and fluid. These are all kind of borderline because they've been sitting a while. So I think to make my life easier, I'm going to add just a little bit more water back into them. I probably will not talk while I work on my painting. Of course, that's my choice, right? And the reason being is I want to be able to really concentrate. And sometimes talking and explaining will sometimes kind of mess up my mojo a little bit. And not that I don't love to share y'all every bit of my process. Sometimes watching is just going to have to suffice, because this is a commissioned painting and I want to make sure that I get it right. Because if Mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, and I'm Mama right now. So I want to make sure that I stay in that flow of that creative energy. So like I said, you probably won't hear me talking while I'm doing it, unless I'm unhappy, and then I'll complain. So if that color isn't like pouring off your stick in a steady stream, then it's too thick. All of these were tube paints, and tube paints are always going to need water added to them, even after you add your Owatrol, which is what I used, 1:1 ratio. Just making sure I don't have any more lumps. This is the only one, and there's a lump. Some of these paints had been sitting a while, and sometimes they get dried paint around the the edges of the bottles or tubes, and it drops into your paint when you're squeezing it out or whatever. So that's too thick. When your stick stands up by itself in your cup, then it's too thick. Of course, this is metallic, and it also has the pigment powder in it. I put a lot of pigment powder in this one, and the pigment powder might be what's making it thicker more than anything. Kind of like when you add flour to water to make your gravy or biscuit dough or whatever you're making. You know, it thickens up that water. It's coming off the stick the way it needs to. You got to stir very carefully when you have it so full that it doesn't overflow. And you also have to make sure you get around all the edges so you don't have thick paint on the outside and water on the inside, or vice versa. When in doubt, add water. The only thing about adding water is if you get it too watery, it's going to be like inky. But if you have the right amount of water, it's going to flow in a steady stream, just like this. So you can after you've been doing this a while, you can kind of get the feel for the right thickness. These are larger cups. Normally I do a half a pump for like a 3-ounce cup or so. I'm going to do a full pump, maybe a little bit more for that one, in all the colors. So I'm stirring, but not like a ton. And the only reason I'm stirring as much as I am is because they're large cups of paint, and I want to make sure it gets down into the lower part of the cup as well, where the paint is at the bottom. That stuff smells so good. So now I'm going to move my color. Well, I'm not going to move my colors because I've got to do my dirty pour. So basically, these two colors are one color. So I guess I'll use the larger cup first because it's my main color. Make sure I don't have any dust in here. Starting with white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So about 1 ounce of each color, really. White, then copper, then bronze, turquoise. I've got way too much navy. Navy, unbleached titanium. That's what I'm calling my peacock teal color. Some of this shimmer, turquoise, copper, buff, navy, turquoise, that's a full cup, so I have like more than plenty of paint. I'm emptying in this smaller turquoise cup, so I'm just trying to get the end of it out so I can get rid of 1 cup. Woo. Oh, see, I'm being careless. It's so full that I'm spilling it. Putting my heat gun to the side here so I can reach it. The cup looks beautiful. So this is just to skim out my canvas. This is a pool trowel. It's acrylic. It is not a metal one. I have a metal one and it's very sharp, so I used the acrylic one. It's also in my Amazon link below all my videos. So I do want a pretty semi-smooth coat of white. Just so that, I'm going to leave negative space, but I want the white to be all the same white, not the white of the primer on the canvas. I want it to all be, this is Artist Loft White, Flow Acrylic. Thinned 1:1 with Owatrol. And I do have to stretch to get over this canvas. And I feel a hair on my arm. That's one thing I have to worry about a lot, is I lose hair like crazy. My plan is not to have any paint go over the sides really. Maybe just at the bottom. But we will see how that goes. Now I want to make sure I have plenty of paper towels around to wipe. This is scary. I almost feel sick. I'm loving it, but it's nerve-wracking when you're doing a commission because you want it to be so perfect. You know what I mean? So, whew. I love these giant cells. I love it. I'm trying to see if you can see. Make sure you can. Whew. Let's see. When the white gets thinner and it starts to dry, I kind of panic a little bit, you know, because then you have to go back and add in and so forth. So with this large canvas, I'm just trying to control everything at one time. Trying to keep the paint wet. You don't want that rigid line, so I gotta find a way to get that to go a little better. And paint does not taste good, let me tell you. Ooh, I put the wrong end in my mouth. It tastes yucky. There I go again. Ugh. See, I got my shirt in the paint. sometimes when you use a pool trowel, it almost does like a suction kind of thing. So that's what happened with that. But then it looks like a splatter, and I'm probably going to leave it, I think. I might get rid of a little bit at the top here, but I'm going to leave those little dots. But I got to be able to smooth out the white. I decided to take the splatter away. Okay, there's a gnat. It better go away. Go away. It smells this coconut milk, I bet. All I need is for that gnat to land in my painting. You still there? I yanked my camera. Well, I've gotten past the feeling sick phase. I'm kind of loving it, actually. I was kind of afraid the copper would really take over, and it didn't. And I keep trying to pop out some copper here and there. So that's why I keep playing with it. You can just keep on adding and playing. You really can. That's the cool part about it. You can kind of swipe back and forth, back and forth. Like here, there should be, I feel like there should be some deeper blue. So I put that navy. And maybe the deep turquoise. Some copper here. We'll do just a little bit of this pearly light color. So now I'm going to take my card and just try to get this area only. And so you can take your stir stick and just kind of make it look like it was meant to be. You really kind of have no idea how things are going to turn out. So it's kind of like the wave goes and it crashes here, and this one crashes here, and this crashes up. This one comes back around. So you're getting this movement, and I am pretty pleased. And I think I want to add something just right here to kind of finish it off. So I got to get enough white back on the canvas. So I still have paint in my cup. I'm wondering if I just take a ribbon that was probably like too much paint, and if it's too muted with the colors being in one cup together and it having been sitting there for a while, I'll just scrape it off and do it again. And you notice I didn't really tilt the canvas at all except for the very first, because once you get this in and the way you like it, you don't want to kind of screw it up with tilting. Not on something like this where you're trying to control it more. So I was kind of hoping more color would come out here, but that's okay. And I'm going to leave the white chunky in places too. It'll level, but I may even come back and put some more white on it after it dries to make it kind of stand up a little bit. You can't swipe with the stuff on your tool or it won't take the paint that you're trying to drag, especially if it's been sitting there a while. I'm recording, but what you think?
I like it.
You like it?
Colors are awesome. I love the cells.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Awesome job.
So I think I'm going to add a little bit of deep color right here as well, and then I'll leave it be. Kind of glad that I'm done, and I am absolutely loving it. I hope that my client loves it. What I will do is probably just make sure the edges are nice and clean white. The bottom has paint, and I'm going to leave that because that makes sense that the bottom of the wave takes over. But I want the corners, the edges to be white because it doesn't really go over anywhere else. But I am super pleased with it. I put so much white paint on here, it's not even funny. Love it, I 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 love it. That's copper, not orange. So the thicker areas of white along the edges, I'm going to go back after it's dried and add more white to make it look like sea foam. This is probably one of my favorite areas of the painting, right through here. I kind of screwed up on the video process, so hopefully my husband can salvage it, and I'll have the video. I had more copper earlier, but the copper has been sinking because metallics are heavier and they sink. So I didn't mix it thin enough, but that's okay. Like I said, this is the copper. It's copper and then bronze. There's the bronze and there's the copper. So you can see the difference. The copper is more orange looking. And the bronze pretty much got hidden for the most part. So there it is. It's 36 inches square. So I did my wave yesterday and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. And it dried except for the heaviest part, which is right here, because I stuck my finger in it because I'm always like jumping on stuff before it's ready. But that's okay. It's all good. I had put heavier white on, but it's leveled out. When you use the acrylic flow, the fluid art, I use that Artist Loft white flow acrylic, and I always mix it 50-50, and that's what I put as a base coat on the background. Even when you put it on heavier with your squirt bottle, I can see raised areas, but they're not really raised because they even leveled out. So right here, I don't know if you can tell. Let me see. I have my camera hooked to the camera stand on a leg. It's funny, it looks horrendous, but anyway, I've started to add texture right here, and I'm going to zoom back out because I can't tell what you can see and what you can't see, but I'm using Master's Touch white. That's the thickest white paint I have, and I have this Americana texture medium, and I put it on my plate, but I also remembered, let me zoom back out, that I have some Deco Art Media modeling paste. I've got a little palette knife here, and this is chunkier too, and I'm going to put a little bit of this on my plate. So here's my plate. Get a little bit more of this. So this is the modeling paste here. This is in the premium section of Deco Art Texture Medium. Master's Touch is what I'm using, the white paint. So what I'm going to do in my little plate here is take this really thick textured stuff and mix my white paint into it. So it's nice and chunky. And if I had heavy bodied paint like Golden or Liquitex heavy bodied acrylic, that would work wonderfully, but I do not have that. So I'm just making my own. You can tell there's some grit in it. So whatever they put in the texture, it might be some fine sand or something like that. So I was hoping to post this today on YouTube, and I might still be able to get a picture of it, but it's not totally dry, but I think everything stopped moving. I did have more metallics that showed up when it was totally wet, and because metallics are heavier, they sink. And so I've got a little copper that's left that looks like a rust color. It doesn't have a real shimmery copper look, but it's, and then there's bronze, and the bronze shows up just a little bit. So I've got little bits and pieces, but I didn't really want that to overtake it. I wanted it to feel more oceany and blue. So I'm going to stick my little palette knife in water so I don't have a big old dried blob. And I have these neat little tools. These are the tools that artists use to do dot work with. On the ends, they have different sizes of metal balls that you can dip your paint into and do dot work like on mandalas and where you want fine detail. And then on the other end, they have silicone tips. So they're not brushes, they're made out of silicone, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to experiment, because I've never used these before, and see if I can find a tip that works to do my texture. And I'm not sure which one I would want to use, so I'm just going to take one. That does not work like I thought it would. I've got a wet paper towel, so I'm going to wipe this off. It is silicone, so all I have to do is wipe it off. Let me try one that has more of a, it's almost like a chiseled brush. That works a little better. This is what I want to be textural, to have like a frothy look, like, you know, an ocean wave splashing, and you would have that froth that's three-dimensional. That's what I want on here. So that doesn't really work the way I want it to either. We'll go back to this one. And I'm trying, I can see where I had used my squeeze bottle before, so I'm just basically going over where I had put the froth before. So I'm not going to talk, that way I can speed through this and you won't have to watch me do this for 30 minutes or however long it takes me to add all this. I will zoom in on it when I'm done. See, I think I might just use my fingertip. I can get it on heavier. And in the areas that I want smaller, I can use the tool. I also had used the palette knife to begin with. It depends on what kind of a look you want. This allows you to do more of a, like, a little bit in lines, like, you know, where it's coming out in splashes. So that's nice about this one, using a palette knife. This is a cool one I got that's kind of an oval, rounded shape. I think I'm getting more control with that than anything, so wipe this off. These will be used for a later date. Somebody recommended those. I had seen them used on YouTube for something. I forget what they were using it for, and I thought that's really cool. And I ordered it, but I don't remember what I was watching. And then somebody told me she did a lot of it with those silicone tools. She used it for her artwork, and don't remember specifically what it was that she did with it, but it'll just have to be one of those things I experiment with later on, that I see if it kind of works or not. But this three-dimensional part gives it just another level of, you know, kind of reality, even though it's abstract. Just gives it another dimension to add. And I'm definitely going to polyurethane or put varnish on this. I'm not going to resin it. I'm not a resin girl. Sorry. I do love the look of it, but I don't like using resin. So this will be finished off probably with a high gloss varnish, and probably the Liquitex, because it will bring back out the depth of the colors. Because sometimes after, you know, painting dries, it becomes a little more muted, and that gloss does bring your colors back out like the wet paint. I don't always do it on white canvases or lighter canvases, but I am with this one. This may still be wet, so I'm gonna forget that area. And I don't want it like heavy everywhere. I just want hints of it here and there where the splashing or the sea foam would occur. Some of this you may not be able to see in the camera, but you get the gist of what I'm doing. And there's areas where I need to go in with my white on the edges where I have a few little fingerprints and things like that, and just go back over with white paint. And I'll use Artist Loft. I'll use the exact same paint that I used with my Owatrol in it, because I want the same exact paint, so it'll be the same exact color, because different whites from different brands are different colors. This is modeling paste, and it can be, and this is texture medium. They both can have paint mixed to them, so you can make them the color of your paint. Obviously, I'm just putting white with it. My white is thicker out of the two, but it's not heavy enough like the heavy bodied white acrylic paint. So that's why I'm adding in this texture. And that way it won't level out on the. And I'm just doing it in the white areas. I mean, I might go into the color a little bit, but I don't want to cover up those beautiful cells, and so I'm kind of trying to strategically put it, you know how they say tight as a drum? This canvas is tight as a drum. That's what happens when you get good quality canvases. This was not a cheap canvas. It's got extra framing in the back, support, and it's nice and tight, which is fabulous, and therefore you hear that drum sound when you're banging on it. And I don't typically use this three-dimensional textured paste, but this painting definitely lends itself to have that extra dimension, I think. I really love this painting. It's poured art, but it's kind of like taking it to the next level when you do it with intention and you try. It's still very abstract, but it becomes a work of art by the extra time that you take putting into it what gives it that next level of expertise or care or artistic ability or whatever, is just spending that extra time. You don't have to really be a true artist to do something like this. In a way, it's almost easier than trying to paint real waves. Believe me, I've painted oceans and water, and it's not an easy thing to do. And this is, you know, a little bit of chance when you put it on your canvas that it's actually, to me, way easier than trying to paint real waves. But the illusion of it and the feel of it is just magnificent as far as feeling like what you want it to feel like. I'm just kind of bringing these little splash marks out. Once this is dry, I can still go in and do my white around all of it. And if I go over the texture after it's dried with white paint, it doesn't matter because it's white. And then it's going to get that glossy finish, which will give the colors more depth, like I said. This is going in a beach house. I was a decorative artist for 20 years, and I have been to this beautiful beach house in North Carolina on the eastern coastline. And I'm really excited about this going there. It's been many years since I was there, but I'm always very grateful for people that I painted for years and years ago to continually call me back to do more and more, you know, stuff. And I used to just paint in homes and that kind of thing, and now I'm getting to do canvases, and so it's just really very rewarding. The thing for me about this is I love art, and I hope I'm not blocking the camera. I'm doing this to make money, yes. But even if I did not need to make money, I would do it for the love of it because I love it so much. It's just part of me. It's what I'm very passionate about. It's very therapeutic for me. I love the way it makes people feel. When someone is truly happy about something you've done, I've had people jump up and down and cry and clap their hands, and you know, there is nothing that can put a value on that money-wise. It's just truly wonderful. And I'm just very blessed that it's a God-given talent. And that I get to do this for me, just for fun, even. And I just love what I do. to do that for a job, to do something you really love, is priceless. It's more valuable than money at times. So this has a gritty feel to it. It kind of reminds me of what the texture of like stucco feels like. This is so exciting. I just love this. I mean, there's certain ones that I truly love. I love my black swipes. I just really love that. And not everybody has black in their home, so, you know, that's not going to be something that people commonly would use as a black painting in their home, especially if they have light, soothing colors and that kind of thing. But I love doing those black swipes. Those are truly some of my favorite ones to do. And then recently I started doing the swiping, but then I add the flowers back on it. And I've always been a flower and color girl. Let me take this off. So yeah, I love flowers, I love color, I love beauty in nature. So I have really, really enjoyed doing those as well. So here's a little bit more up close of some of the texture. So I'm zoomed all the way out, and I can't, without getting up near my ceiling, I can't really show you the whole painting, but I'm adding this to the end of my video. I've got like a 3-hour video to edit right now, and this is another 30 or 40 minutes that I had sped up to, which it was more like 2 hours of mixing the paints. So I've got hours and hours of video that I'm editing, and just to let you know what goes into making these videos for you. So here it is, and I will post the dried picture at the very end of this whole video. Thank you so much for watching.